K5 Blazer guy here in Southern California. I'm going to take you through the steps of restoring a console. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. There's a way I do it. And if you want to follow along, I'm going to do five steps. Disassemble, clean and assess the console to see what needs to be done to it to restore it as best you can. And then prep it. And then texture the outside. And then the paint. And then reassemble the console for final assembly in your Blazer or truck. With bucket seats, the center of your interior, all eyes go right to that console. It's the centerpiece. So you want to make it really nice to set the tone for the whole interior, I believe. So with a nice console, you could have a really exceptional looking interior with everything else you got. Also, these consoles are very utilitarian, very useful. You put a 12-pack of beer in there. You could seal it and turn it into a cooler. It holds a lot of cargo. And with the cup holder upgrade, which is a K5 essential upgrade for today's use, I think you'll find that you've got something that's useful and looks good. So first thing we do is remove the lid, and then you need some nut drivers. Just take this emblem off. Once you do that, then you take that hinge off and assess the quality and the reusability of that hinge. This is in pretty nice condition. What we've got here is a pretty clean console. It's not going to require a lot of repair. Just cleanup and restoration mostly. I'll go through how to patch and fix cracks and fix holes. But this one's not going to require much. So if you just want to restore your console and get it looking nice, then that's what we're going to go over basically here. So taking these 4 screws out on the side, bolts on the side, 2 up front, 3 out back when you took the hinge off. It's really pretty straightforward. You might have a small drill that make it a little quicker, but just a nut driver with a screwdriver. Take those off, pretty simple. The harder ones to get to are under the cup holder, right here and here. Not real hard, just requires a little bit more looking. You can do this just by feel, but take that apart. Someone will take this top piece off. So then what we got left is these 2 little screws that are right underneath the cup holder, and then you want to remove this lid hold down catch roller. So once you've got all the screws off, then you basically just put your hand in here, lift down on the front, and it just lifts up like that. The next step is going to be to take this trim ring off, and for that we need to get to these tabs underneath, and they're pretty easy to get to except for the 2 right here underneath the cup holder. That's pretty hard to get to. So sometimes what I'll do is get where the sunlight's coming in so I can see down in here to get to those, and then just grab a long nose needle nose pliers and take them and untwist them. Once you've got these tabs all unscrewed on the bottom, you take a screwdriver and just work this top piece off around. You start in the front, all the way around, and it'll pop up. And it's off. So the trim ring is pretty rusty. You could sand this down. It'd take a while. You'd probably spend an hour on this. sanding it down, then repainting it chrome. I get mine re-chromed at a powder coater locally. Charged me 20 bucks for each one of these to get them re-chromed, so they come out pretty nice. Next is the top. So this is in pretty nice shape. You want to look at these lines right here. Try to find a console that's got nice lines on top right here. It's not all beat up, chipped up. This is a pretty good one. A lot of times these take a lot of abuse because they're smashed on top. There's no cracks in this one. Pretty good shape. I believe this was original saddle tan console. It's never been repainted, so it's going to be nice to work with. And it's still got really good texture on top. We're not going to texture this, just going to paint it. Clean it and paint it. So the console lid, or I'm sorry, the console upper portion, there's no holes and cracks in here, but if you, to the visible eye, if you really want to tell, hold it up to the sunlight. If you hold it up to the sunlight, then you can see if there's any cracks or holes that really you might miss. I take simple green. Just simple green you get at any hardware store. This one's pretty greasy on top. It's got a lot of dirt, grime, so we're gonna spray this down real good and just let it soak. And do it in the shade, because in the sun, it dries, this simple green just dries up real quick. So do it in the shade so it can soak real good. Soak the bottom where all the stuff gets trapped, all the dirt and grease. It's real basic stuff, but for people that just haven't ever done anything like this, trying to go through every step I take to come out with a nice console, something you can, you know, use every day in your Blazer truck, be proud of and show off. And this cup holder, I've got the replacement aluminum billet cup holder, so I'm not going to use this, but if you want to keep your old cup holder and you don't want to spend the money for a new one, then same process here. This one, a lot of gunk and grime down in the center. It's going to take some scrubbing, some probably like a putty knife, get all that gunk out down there. Next, I just take like a tire scrub brush, a little nylon. They're both nylon brushes, one with a thinner strip of bristles and then a little thicker one, a toothbrush for the console lid, and just a rag. So I take the toothbrush to get down into this console lid, in the grooves there. And also you got a lot of texture on this console lid that we want to pop. So the best way to do that is to get the dirt out of there. Get the dirt and grime out of the little texture on top. That way it can all shine and come through when you get it painted. Just basic cleaning. It's nothing complicated. Don't have to spend a ton of time on it. If you've got a compressor, step would be take your compressor and just blow out all the holes and blow out all the debris off of it before we paint it. We'll go through that step too. Okay, we're done scrubbing this stuff, so the last thing to do is just spray it off with a hose. Again, you know, this is not a right or wrong situation. I'm just giving you a basic concept and foundation about how to prepare a console for restoration. You may have some own ideas, use other fluids or cleaning products that you like, but in the end, I'm just taking water and just spraying it off. Then I'm gonna take the compressor and dry it off. This is a nice little area to look at too, the rubber stops on the corner of the lid here. You just want to scrape off that dried up piece of old rubber there. When they first put the lids on, they put little stops right here, so the console wouldn't bang down on this piece. So I'd get those little rubber stops off. Take the compressor to it to get every little piece of water out of it. Then I'm gonna set up my paint booth, and if you don't get all that water out, the paint's not gonna stick, so something will drip out of a hole. So take an air compressor, or if you don't have an air compressor, let it dry in the sun for at least a couple hours. Now that I've got a compressor and air to all the holes in there and got it all dried out, let it sit in the sun a little bit. I'm gonna talk about getting ready to start texturing that. So the question is, on this console, it's in nice condition. I think it's maybe been painted once, but that might be the original color. Why are we gonna texture it? Well, the reason we want to texture is because the outside has a lot of scratches and little dings in it. If you just paint it, you're gonna see all those imperfections. So it won't look good. It'll look like something that's got a lot of little inconsistencies in it. So the first thing we're gonna do from here at this point forward, now that we've got our surfaces all nice and clean and free of oil and dirt, is I'm gonna put gloves on so I don't get any more oil from my hands, especially on the lid, because the lid's everything that everybody ever sees. You look down at that lid all the time, so you don't want to get some fingerprints or oil on that lid. Paint it, and then when you get done, you'll be able to see that. So this is what I use. It's called Iron Armor Truck Bed Coating. Comes in a can. You can get it at Harbor Freight. I think it's about $7. Takes about 1 can to do 1 console. It doesn't take much. You got to do it real light, but again, there it is. That's what I use to texture. You can use something similar. It doesn't have to be the same thing. You just put a light coat over it, and you got to be careful with this stuff, because if you touch it while it's wet, there's no going back. You pretty much have to start over. Up next, we're going to reassemble the console, show you how to do that in part 2 here in Blazerville.